I give you Lieutenant Governor Lee Fisher.
This is a wonderful day, not just for the Boyce and Cordray families, but for the Ohio family. Because as Commissioner Pepper has said, we're honoring today two people who stand for what is best and what is right about the state of Ohio. I want to acknowledge that there are some people in the audience today who I don't think have yet been acknowledged, and I want to make sure that we do, although knowing Richard and Kevin, they would have done it if I hadn't. First, the new Speaker of the House, Armin Buch. See him here, knowing that the governor and I are about to introduce a budget, I want to acknowledge Senate President Bill Harris, whether he's here or not. And in a minute, I'm going to acknowledge two other people when I talk about Richard Cordray. But first, I want to talk about Kevin Boyce. I've known Kevin for many, many years, and I have worked with him most recently as Executive Director of Knowledge Works, a truly phenomenal, first-class, world-class nonprofit organization that is working closely with Governor Strickland and his and our administration on improving the lives of children and making sure that what goes on in the classrooms of Ohio is first class and world class. Kevin is a rising star, and Governor Strickland has once again shown tremendous judgment in choosing people. I include myself in that. Kevin is qualified in every respect. And I have zero doubt that years from now, we will say that in the tradition of Richard Cordray and Mary Ellen Withrow and so many other great treasures, Kevin Boyce stands right up there with them. And now I want to say a word about Richard Cordray. I think you know that at one time, I held this great office. And I stand here today to say that it was the second best public office I've ever held. The only reason I'm saying the second best is my boss is to the right. I want to join Governor Strickland in thanking Nancy Rogers because she made us all proud. And she was the right person in the right place, a model of wisdom and grace and compassion and professionalism. And I'm very pleased that my friends and colleagues Betty Montgomery and Jim Petro are here today as well. Although it is no secret that we are not of the same political party, and that Betty in particular sent me involuntarily to the private sector, I have known both of them for many years and have great respect and admiration for each of their distinguished records of public service, especially Attorney General. I also want to say a word about two of my predecessors. Bill Brown and Tony Celebrezzi were not only good friends, they were mentors and role models. And I will always be grateful to both of them for their legacy of leadership as great attorneys general, and I can say without fear of contradiction, I would not have been Attorney General if it had not been for my friend Tony Celebrezzi, and they deserve our thanks today. Richard Cordray is about to run the largest law firm in the Midwest. More than 1,300 dedicated public servants with 35,000 active legal cases going every day, which means Richard Cordray will be up every night. You know Richard's resume. It's listed in part in our program. It is extraordinary. I dare say there is no Attorney General in the country today as prepared and as qualified to be our state's Attorney General than Richard. In fact, I would even go so far as to say he's the most prepared person ever to be Attorney General other than Nancy Ryan. I had the privilege of knowing Richard for many years, but the special time was when we worked together. I created a new position in the Office of Attorney General, which I'm very pleased that Betty and Jim and Nancy continued. It's called State Solicitor. I wanted the very best attorney that I could find, preferably from the private sector, who would represent our state in the highest courts of the state and in the country. And it was obvious to me who I should choose and hire, and that was Richard Cordray. Despite the fact that he never wore shoes in the office, he proved to be even better than I thought he would. And today, I think it's fair to say he's about to assume the mantle of a very special office. I call it the spirit of the public trust. There are millions of Ohioans who will be depending on Kevin and Richard. And what I remember most about the Office of Attorney General were the accomplishments that were not highlighted at 11 o'clock news, but the quiet, determined daily work of all the men and women in the Office of Attorney General protecting everyday Ohioans from consumer fraud, solving violent crimes, reaching out to victims of crime, and protecting Ohio's public interest. I think it's fair to say that Richard Cordray is about to become the public protector, the public defender, and the public advocate.